I think the first and foremost responsibility of leaders of organizations and institutions, whichever the case may be, is to
Yes.
foster an environment where people connect. At the end of the day, we are social beings. We can
Yes.
have technology to facilitate connection remotely, like I'm doing now, we are doing here together. But that does not come anywhere closer like seeing you face to face. And so,
Yeah.
therefore, the responsibility of organizational leaders is to create opportunities as best as they can, of course, with now bearing in mind COVID-19 regulations of many countries
Mhm.
have been navigating around the imposed curfews and that. But there has to be deliberate intentions at some stage where opportunities are created for interpersonal connection, face to face, or what we're now calling in person engagement. That's the first thing. The second thing that leaders are now
Mhm.
expected to do to ensure that the health of their workforce remain at an all-time high, despite the conditions that the
Yeah.
people may be finding themselves in, is to ensure that they constantly check in with their teams and with their workforces on a regular basis. It is important to create an opportunities where members of staff or employees rather are able to talk and share about their own experience, because even talking alone is therapeutic. For somebody who has been
Mhm.
in a lonely home like a single person who just leaves, wakes up and works on in their pajamas, they must at some stage it feels this world is not working for me. And so there has to be that sensitivity by organizational leaders, institutional leaders, to create spaces where their employees are able to connect with each other and share their own experiences on a regular basis. Don't wait for a crisis. Create the
Yes.
opportunity intentionally. Check in. How are you doing? Why are things working out on
Mhm.
your end? Because that alone helps somebody to feel they are valued, number one. And secondly,
Mhm.
they do matter, because organizations now have to see to making people feel like they're units of labor and see the human
Yeah.
part of it, and know that I know my brother Dan and my brother Dan knows what Paul is doing, and we are able to connect on that level. The other aspect, as much as possible, organizations
Mhm.
should establish what I would call wellness programs, yeah,
Yeah.
where people and teams are able to connect once in a while,
Mhm.
to connect via games, via shared activities that they are not really work related, but they are
Yeah.
just there to create the social fabric to connect at
Yeah.
a human level. Those things are
Mhm.
very important because our wellness program goes far to help dealing with psychological issues or mental health issues that could be
Yeah.
sitting somewhere in a human system waiting for time to explode if they're not dealt with or detected in early stages. So in organizations in that, it should constantly create opportunities for connection, create opportunities to establish wellness programs, and be
Yes.
intentional about checking in.
And Paul, in that regard, which from your conversation here, is that there's a lot of responsibility that leaders and those who are leading departments
Mhm.
uh, given to really check on their employees. But who really is going to take the responsibility on checking on the leaders? Because I guess also in this particular context, the leaders also could get overwhelmed. What
I
are your
agree.
suggestions as far as this is concerned?
No, that's very powerful and also a very important question, because leaders organizations are constantly giving. And you know
Mhm.
what? As you constantly give, if you do not get an opportunity as a leader, whether it's a leader of your family as a father, or leader of an organization, or a leader of a community, so long as you're in a leadership position, there's
Yeah.
always something that you're giving out constantly. And you have to
Yeah.
create opportunities to replenish what you're giving back. Otherwise, you also run empty. And before you know, you're actually also part of a program to be rehabilitated. And so the
Yeah.
idea is to make sure you don't get to a place where, as a leader, so how does a leader replenish? Create, number one, opportunity for you to slow down and refill yourself. Find
Yeah.
things that do rejuvenate your energies, whether it's a watching a movie, whether it's going to a gym to work out, whether it's spending quality time with your family, whether it's taking a walk in the park and just enjoying nature. You've got to
Mhm.
create time where you are able to replenish the energy that you've used in fixing the rest of the world, and you
Mhm.
make sure that you don't become a case to be fixed. That's the first thing.
Mhm.
Secondly, work with a schedule. Make your
Mhm.
time management a priority.
Yeah.
Define boundaries. And one of the things that leaders must learn to do even more often, even in today's world, especially now, is to know the power of no, N-O. Because as leaders, we get tempted to say yes to everything. And it's in the yes where we get our energies depleted and we rarely get time to replenish. And it looks fashionable that you are tired and that you have been working 16 hours out of 24 hours. That will land you into a hospital bed soon. And it's important that leaders know how to balance their demands on their work life and demands on their family and demands about the world that they need to care of on an everyday basis.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. In case you're tuning in right now, we are discussing about the future of workplace, a vital topic that we're dealing with today. And to help us in this is Dr. Paul Kariuki, all the way from South Africa, based in Durban, who is the executive director of DDP. I keep forgetting this name.
DDP.
Yes. And he's here and helping us in expounding on this particular topic. Kan Langat, you say you're tuned. Robert Wafula, you say watching from Donham. Welcome to this show, the Raw Leadership Talk. Paul, what are your thoughts on fostering connectivity in terms of hybrid model of working?
So, firstly, as we said in the previous conversation, that one of the challenges that a hybrid model has created is that it has allowed you technology to create a perception that it's okay even if I don't see you for months, that we're still connecting. And that for me is dangerous because at the end of the day, you cannot replace the human connection with technology. Yes. At some stage, we need to see each other. We need to feel each other. We need to be able in a position to connect at a human level. So having said that, there are several ways to foster connectivity in organization. One of them is leaders have the obligation to create opportunities in their workforces for friendships to thrive. Because no one person has all answers to any questions or to issues. And so what may not be addressed by leadership of an organization can be addressed by a colleague in the organization. So it's the responsibility of leaders to create opportunities where friendships do thrive and that colleagues at work are able to connect with each other. And not necessarily because the leader did it. What the leader has to do is to create the environment and allow people to be people, connect with each other. The second thing is to encourage individual colleagues to do personal check-ins with each other. You know, pick up a phone, call up your friend, find out how is your colleague doing. Was the night okay? Last night okay? You know, how is this morning? And that thing that you talked to me about last time, was it solved? You know, let people develop those personal check-ins that are not necessarily directed by the organization, but because people are already creating these friendship links, they're able to follow up with each other and find out their welfare, their state, and issues perhaps that management of an organization may never even know because they are solved at the human level. The third thing they could do is, as leaders, create opportunities where now it's no longer now a top-down kind of leadership style, it's a bottom-up. In other words, create opportunities where as a team or as a workforce, as best as you can, you create opportunities to share mutual visions and create strategies together as a team. Let everyone feel that they are part of this, because one of the dangers of remote working or hybrid model of working is because people are working in different spaces and no one is there to see each other. It feels like I don't belong. Whoever else will do that, that work is for other people. There is something that has to be nurtured with intention. And that is our individual connections via communications. And at the same time, we create opportunities to share vision and develop strategies together and enhance interpersonal communications.
Wonderful thoughts, wonderful thoughts. Jacqueline Orlando, welcome. You say you're watching from Mombasa. Do you foresee, Dr. Paul, that we will go back to the normal? If this is the new normal, do you foresee that we'll go back to the normal, or this is going to be the new normal that we have to accept. Is this what we are looking at? That people are going to be, the hybrid model will become the real model, even as we are going into the future? Or you foresee a situation where we are going to go back into the offices and people will be able to work just like they've been working before COVID-19?
Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. We'll never go back to the to the way we used to be. The world, as I began the conversation, I said it has always been reset now, and we will never go back to where we used to be. What I foresee is organizations, to employers and employees, working closely together on a constant basis to create practices that are best and relevant to their own unique environments. Because as I said when we started, there is no easy answers to how do organizations and employees adapt to the changing circumstances. And it's not like the changes today and then you wait for another month. Today, the organization may have functioned in one way. Tomorrow, something else happens in the environment of their work and completely throws everything out of context, And so the constant communication will create opportunities for both employers and employees to create conducive environments where work still needs to be done, but it has to be created in an environment where there is a lot of empathy, a lot of flexibility, and a lot of compassion supported by mutual trust. Trust must be the common denominator. That as organization leaders, you need to not feel the temptation or to actually get tempted to micromanage people. Yes. You need to understand as a leader that you can treat your team as adults and with respect, and vice versa. And so where now trust becomes the issue, to say that you know your obligations, you know what you're expected to do, just go ahead and do it. But of course, it may sound easier than when it's actually done in practice, because building trust is a long-term journey. And it depends on what is the existing organizational culture that can support people to feel, for both leaders and their employees to feel trust is there. Leaders need to be in comfortable position to know that my workforce, my team, is able to deliver on what we have agreed to do together. Because when you co-share the vision and you co-share the strategy, you harness buy-in. And when there is buy-in, everybody feels they have a part to play in making the vision to come to pass, whatever the goals may be. But you have also to create a condition of an environment where trust becomes the key for delivery. And that, I think, is the biggest challenge. So the shortest answer to your question is that we will never go back to where we used to be. The temptation for leaders to go back to a traditional way of sitting people in the office from morning to evening, that has gone. What now the obligation of leaders is to allow, with the use of technology and other mechanism, to allow employees to enjoy flexibility, and let us refocus on how do we measure performance, what we expect, so that we can be able to say there is mutual giving in and giving out to sustain the organization and to sustain your workforce, which I believe your human resource as an organization and as a leader of the organization is your greatest asset. Look after it.
Thank you very much. Great insight right there from Dr. Paul. And in 1 minute, Dr. Paul, even as we bring this broadcast today to a close, what will be your final thoughts?
I would say both leaders and employees need to exercise what I call self-care. Manage your own ability to stay mentally healthy, emotionally healthy, and physically healthy, to adapt to the changes and the demands that COVID-19 has placed on society.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it right there. The future of workplace is not going to be back to normal. We are in this to stay. You better get prepared, become flexible, become consistent, but more become trustworthy. That people can trust in you, whether you are an employer or you are an employee. Next week, we continue with another discussion with Dr. Paul. For the whole of this month, it's going to be wonderful thoughts here, the Raw Leadership Talk, and you don't want to miss. God bless you, and see you next time.